You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 223. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action today. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and I'm excited to share my stories and life lessons with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hey friends, welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac. Today, I have a very special guest who I literally bumped into at Zibby's Bookshop in Santa Monica in January. As I was leaving, I had heard a bit about her story as she was awarded a Zibby Award for her book, The Magical Guide to Bliss. And it turns out that she was a former federal prosecutor for the DOJ and then Homeland Security, turned empowerment coach, happiness trainer, just filled with goodness. And when you see her smiling face, her fun glasses, that she brings color to life, you think, how were you an attorney and straight-laced per se and prosecuting people? Because it really doesn't even fit when you listen to Meg's personality. So I am so excited to share with you our conversation and how we've become friends and what Meg is doing to really focus in on what she's meant to do and how much she's enjoying life and this new career and how it's possible for you to do the same. Hi, Meg.
Hey, Michelle, how are you?
I'm so good. Look at your smiling face. Nobody can see it except for me, but your smile is so big. I love it. You brighten everything, which is exactly why I wanted to have you on, because as I walked out of Zibby's bookshop, boom, there you were. And I was like, we must be friends.
I'm a very big synchronistic kind of person. So whenever something shows up like that in my life, I'm like, oh, there's reason behind it. I get to be the curious one and I get to figure out why. So this is awesome.
I love it. Can you introduce yourself to everybody, please, before we dive in even further?
Sure. So my name's Meg Nocero. I like to call myself now a happiness and professional development expert. I was a former federal prosecutor with Department of Justice first and then DHS, Department of Homeland Security. And I jumped into this wonderful creative world. I'm a founder of a company called Butterflies and Bliss and the president and chief happiness officer of that. And then also I've written 3 award-winning books. It's my Butterfly and Bliss trilogy. It starts with Magical Guide to Bliss, goes on to Sparkle and Shine, and Butterfly Awakens is my memoir. And I'm also the founder of an award-winning nonprofit here in Miami called Shine Networking, Inc., which I get to play with all that. And I have a show, a host of a podcast too, a YouTube podcast called Manifesting with Meg, Conversations with Extraordinary People. So that's pretty much me as what I do. I love these conversations. I think that that's my life's goal. I think the tools I've gained as a prosecutor changing over to this has just been one of the most fun, exciting learning about people and sharing stories, which we are storytellers now. So both published authors, congratulations.
And you too, and award-winning, yes. I love it's so different to hear you were a federal prosecutor. You dealt with Homeland Security and ICE, and it's so suits. And now you're like, it's butterflies and it's sparkles and it's happiness. It's the two polar opposites.
Yeah, well, I'll have to say this to be true, though. While I was there, I showed up with butterflies. Maybe that's why I just didn't totally fit in there. But, I definitely do believe that you've got to show up wherever you are authentically you. And I think I used to put what they termed them as magnets. So they were like magnets. And I put them on everybody's door. There was a metal frame. And they were all like little inspirational quotes that I got to read when I would walk around the halls. Like, if you can or you can't, that's up to you. Like all the Henry Ford wonderful quotes that are just escaping me right now. But yeah, all of the above. Like I could not tame the Butterflies and Bliss while I was with DOJ and DHS outside of the courtroom. Inside the courtroom, very different story. I took it very seriously for sure.
So take us all back to starting out law school. Like, what was your path to, I always want to be a lawyer, or, oh, maybe this is the right fit for me? How did that all start? Give us a bit about your career and then where you took that major turn.
Well, I have to say that I was always just a creative kid, but when I decided to major in college, I was language major. So I always felt like when you engage people in their native tongue, then you break barriers and you can learn so much more about others. So I studied Spanish, Italian, and French in college. I was a Romance language major. I traveled. That was one of the gifts of that because, educational purposes, I got to live in Italy. I've lived in Colombia, South America. I've been to Ecuador. I love traveling. It was always something that was a part of me. At the same time, I got to meet so many different people all over the world. And then when I graduated, it was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? Because I literally had no plan, which is so unlike me because I'm so strategic and I'm a planner. So I decided to take a gap year when it wasn't a gap year because, that's something maybe now, but then not so much. And I started playing in different areas, and I decided to get my master's in international security and conflict and international affairs in Miami. That's how I ended up in Miami. And that was wonderful. I wanted to go into the foreign service afterwards. And I had a dog named Alfredo Luigi. He's my bubby. He was my bestie. And I said, I can't go without him. And so that kind of pivoted me to law school. That is how I went to law school because I had no idea what I was going to do after that. And then someone in law school basically handed me a flyer one day, knowing my background, said, I think you might like this. Back to the synchronistic things of life, right? And it was internship with the Immigration Naturalization Service at the time through the Department of Justice. And I applied and I got in and I had the internship my last year of law school. And then I took a 2-year break and I did international law, which was basically trade and treaties. Hated it, hated the whole billable hours. It wasn't for me. So then I went back to the Department of Justice as an immigration attorney and was there for about 20 years before when 9/11 happened, it turned to Department of Justice. I mean, from DOJ to DHS, Department of Homeland Security. And, I made my career there. And actually there, I started playing in personal development because I was the head legal intern coordinator and I used to hire the law students and I used to work with them and teach them how to be lawyers in this setting. And it was probably one of the most exciting experiences to teach all of these really young minds show up and know certainly that their professional reputation is so important that you don't want to do things that will call into question your integrity, your all the high values in life. So my story goes in 2011, my mother passed away from breast cancer, and it just blew up my life. That was just it. That was just for me my wake up call because she basically said to me in so many words, she was young, she was 67, that stress, overwhelming stress, chronic stress will kill you, which I had that, and you don't want to have regrets when it's your end, so
True.
do what you love now. Well, I was like, wait, my mentor, my guide, where are you going? I have no guide anymore. It's kind of like the teacher passes the baton to the student and they're like, I don't want this. I was like, I'm like, I just thought I would plug along and, check the boxes. I have 2 beautiful children. I'm married. I have, I've since had other dogs, since Alfredo Luigi, all Italian names, by the way. And, I was like, wow. And then it was a reality that I was certain that, I didn't want to, end my life as a prosecutor for Department of Homeland Security. That was just not it. And, it's interesting because one of the beautiful things about my career was that I was in court listening to stories all the time, people telling stories as to why they're in this country, why they came here. And, it's fascinating because you see the whole arc of beginning, middle, and end as we as authors, we know that now. And I always was very cognizant of how important it is to tell a good story, especially if you want to stay in this country. And it turned to now I have my show, Manifesting with Meg, and just another interesting anecdote. Before I decided to go to my master's program, when I left college, I went out to California, your neck of the woods, and it was a gift for my graduation, and we went into The Price is Right, right? So this is kind of like the budding beginnings of my manifesting abilities and my entire childhood. I don't know if you're younger than I am, but we used
No,
to
I
watch the
watched. My
show.
brother was on it in college as well.
There you go. So you know it. So you know the whole process, right? Getting on.
Yeah.
But I always used to watch the show hoping that I could spin the wheel and hit $1. Well, I got on the stage. I got on this on the. I was called up. Come on down, Margaret. I was like, I heard the words, and my game was squeeze play. I totally failed that, but I spun $1 on the wheel. Yes, and I was like, this is the best possibilities, and like hope and all the wonderful things can happen. They actually can unfold. When I was like 21 years old, I'm like, oh my God, how does it happen? Like, so that was like my whole tagline. So many, it's like, you're never going to believe what just happened to me. And I've like said that many times. You're never going to believe what just happened to me. And everyone's like, oh my God, you can't say impossible because there's so many possibilities. And I kind of dwell there, like Emily Dickinson said. So
To throw her in because she's now related to Taylor Swift,
did
right?
you see that?
I
Did you see
did.
that? I'm a lucky Taylor. Well, no kidding. No kidding. It's in the genetics. I
Yes,
love
the
Emily.
poetry is in the genes.
In the
Yes.
genes. I love that you said that too. I'm a big Swiftie. Thank you. Did you go see the concert?
We didn't know. It was no, I know. But we did a girls' afternoon, me and 7-year-olds, and we rented it on TV, and I decorated the house, and
Oh
we
my
had
God.
popcorn, and we didn't have tiaras, but we had sparkly headbands.
Okay.
So, yes, we
Rock
did it.
star mom. You're a rock
And it was
star
probably much better after seeing all of these 7-year-olds talking throughout the entire concert, and I went, "Oh, I'm so glad this was $20 and not 200 plus,"
mom. I know.
because I'd be like, "Be quiet. She's singing. Be quiet."
Oh my God. It's amazing because music is like literally my favorite thing in the world. And to hear really good storytellers tell their stories through their lyrics and the music, and that you feel like this heaviness lifted after the song is over is wonderful. And in fact, if I may, one of my manifesting stories is when my mother passed away, I kind of went back into my closet of life, like the closet, like it was literally my closet. And I didn't want to come out. And a lot of the music of Coldplay was the thing that got me, you know, going again, like the spark and all the lyrics. Well, I actually was invited out to Malibu to Chris Martin's house, and yeah, very cool. That was very, very cool. That was like,
How do you just get invited to Chris Martin's house?
so what?
That
So I'll jump ahead
because
when I tell
nobody's calling me, okay?
Well, this is the thing. I think that they would, because I've heard your story and how you meet so many influential people. I always say, look around, who's in the room with you. You are that, right? You are that influential people. So you have to embody that as you show up in this world. So yeah, if you wanted to, probably something like that would probably happen to you. I've heard your stories. But I wrote a book called The Magical Guide to Bliss after my mother died. And this goes to my Oprah story. So I'll start there because it does segue into Chris Martin. In 2014, Oprah came to town with the Live the Life You Want tour, right? And it was interesting because when my mother was going through the final stages of her illness, I said, Mom, I'm going to go to Chicago. I'm going to be on the Oprah show. You'll see. It's an impossible thing, but it's going to happen. And you're going to believe that you can heal. And, we always feed ourselves these crazy stories just to kind of like give some kind of inspiration to the person that, is going through something so challenging, just to give them a glimpse of hope. Well, I did go to Chicago. We did not get on the show. It was like the ticket that nobody could get. But I'm telling you, it was like kind of kismet, because the show that we would have been on is the one with the guy and the many wives. And that's just not my jam. I'm like, yeah, that's not my jam. Although, it's kind of like a car accident. You got to look, but it's not my jam. It's not.
I
So
will
with
put
all
it on
due-
TLC when it comes on. I'm like,
Yes.
oh, really, y'all? Oh, but I can't look away.
No, I know.
I need
It's
to
like,
pause. Honey, you got to see this guy?
it's
Yeah.
like, what? Let me tell you, I admit I do watch it. and I saw the wedding and she broke away from the whole drama mess, and I was
Oh,
so
yeah.
happy for her. I was so happy
I'm
for
so
her.
glad those ones are breaking up. And then there's the other one, like, what is it? Marry My Husband, or We're Looking for a Sister Wife. That one, because so I was in corporate aviation for 20 years. My husband still is. And there's one guy who is in corporate aviation. And I was like, pause, Google. And so 'cause I'm like, I need to find out who he works for, because you can't say that on national TV and then keep your identity hidden. So I was like, oh, he works for a maintenance company. Um,
Well, that's the researcher lawyer in you that's coming out. I will find out exactly how this
I
is
will stalk
happening.
you and get the facts.
Yes. You're like, "I'm going to get to the bottom of this," like, it's like, something that's just like I said, like, "What?" I have to figure out why, what is happening? But the interesting thing at the end of the day is that everything happens as it should, and I always love the quote from Rumi, "The universe is rigged in my favor," and it kinda shifts the whole impetus of, "This is really awful. Why is all this horrible things happening to me?" to, "Okay, how is this happening for me?" So, we have a great memory. My mother passed away in April of 2011. Oprah went off the air in May of 2000. I think it was 11. So it was kind of like, wait, all my mentors are leaving me. I was like, what is happening? Like back to what I was saying. They're passing the baton, and I was like, I don't want this. I don't want to be a responsible adult. Mind you, I was like 41 years old at the time. And I was like, no, thank you. You keep it. I am happy being this, wonderful, magical thinker in the world, having my day job with the logical side of me, and then having, this whole beautiful, imaginary, wonderful world that you get to do when you write. And it was interesting. I started writing. So back to Oprah. Oprah comes to town in 2014. I was turning 45 at the time. So I basically, and now I've just given my age away. So if anybody wants to know, 54. Okay. So we're all sitting in the audience. I decided to get premium tickets because it was celebrating my 45th. I figured that was a, timely, gift to myself, that I like survived, after loss, because, losing my mom was probably one of the most challenging things that I've ever gone through. I didn't think I was going to survive it, just because my anxiety kicked up to a level that I was having panic attacks constantly. It's very scary. If you haven't had one, if you have one, I have a lot of empathy. It's just really a challenging experience. But at the end of the day, had been writing my way out of grief, and I started writing Insights of the Day. And when we came to 2014, I had these tickets. I was going to go. It's going to be the best time ever. I just like, I'm going to meet her. I'm going to meet her. I don't know how I'm going to meet her. But somehow, the reason why I told the Price is Right story, I felt like it was going to be a come on down moment where she was going to call me to the stage, and it was going to be this whole, unlocking this visualization that in my little imaginary head was going on. It happened that way. My very good friend was on the third rung of the arena. She comes down. I don't know how. She's very good. She got onto the floor because I was on the premium ticket floor. She finds her way to me. She sits down by me. Mind you, I'm wearing a tiara and a yellow jacket at this point because it's my celebration of my birthday, and I literally wear tiaras because I think you hold yourself differently when you hold a tiara on your head. So she sits down, and then there's this Deepak Chopra meditation going on. Like we were talking before, I'm terrible at sitting still during a meditation. I'm like, I just don't. It's like my energy is very nervous, and I get it, and I embrace it, and I do meditation, and it does feel really good when I have acupuncture and the needles are forcing me to stay still while my arms are out. I have to, and I can't move. That's good. But this time I was like, oh my God. And she starts to come off the stage during this meditation, and she comes down and she's walking toward us. And she's walking toward me. And then I'm like, I think I scared the hell out of her, to be quite honest, because she's walking toward me and I'm like losing it. Everyone else is in like meditative.
Their eyes are probably closed like they're supposed to be. And you're like, I see you. Do you see me?
There's like pictures. My friend was taking pictures of the whole thing as she's walking toward me. She comes to me. She shifts over to my friend who's paying attention to the rules and doing what she's supposed to do. She grabs my friend's book, as we were supposed to be like journaling as well. Read what she wrote. This is the girl who wasn't supposed to be sitting there. And she goes, I like you. Come up with me. So my friend was taken onto the stage, and I'm sitting there like, this is really happening. She just like saw me and she walked away. I'm like, oh, and then I thought, okay, so I just have to let go and surrender and let's see what happens, because I'm really happy for my friend. And I'm always believing that when somebody is getting recognized or something wonderful that's so close to me, it's going to happen for me eventually, or I get to bask in the beauty of what they're going through. Right. So my friend is on stage. Oprah starts to ask her, what are your intentions for your loved one that you want them to have? And my friend says, before she says anything, Oprah, I got to say this. I can't be up here without telling you about my friend Meg. And in front of 15,000 people, she starts going, I can't be here while she's down there. So Oprah goes out, like I'm obviously paraphrasing, but she's like, well, where's Meg? And I'm like, what? She's like, well, where's Meg? And I'm like, hi. Raise my hand. She's like, she said to my friend, he goes, who bought the tickets? And she goes, she did. She goes, well, you're glad that I'm bringing her up here. And she goes, Meg, come on up here. Like, come on down. I was like, you have got to be kidding. So I forgot about the whole reason why we're up on stage is she's asking questions as to what we wrote. So I left my book down there. I grabbed another book and I was on stage and we're having this conversation. I literally was waving at the audience. I was like, hello, Miami, like screaming, like, and she grabs me. She's like, you need to calm down. I go, yeah, but you're Oprah, and I'm sitting right next to you. I go, I can't calm down. I was like, and I was like, oh my God. And she said, well, what did you write? So I went into my book and I go, oh my God, I'm so excited to be up here, but oh my God, this is not even my book. So it was like a whole thing. And then she like literally summing up, she brought us up to the front and it was like a whole moment. And she said to me, what you want for others, you should want for yourself as well. Like those dreams that you have, you should want to see them come to light, because this is only a once around, what dreams you have should be realized. You should go for it. And he said, so basically at that point, I honestly believed it was like my mother working through Oprah. It felt like that. Like I looked up and I was just like, I felt my mom everywhere around me. I felt her there. And I turned around and I just started to cry. And I was like, Oprah, I'm going into the ugly cry. And she goes, you're going to hate these pictures. Don't go into the ugly cry. I can't help myself. And she's laughing at me. And then that was my Oprah story. So after that, the photographer, George Burns, took beautiful pictures of us up there. And then he connected with me. And then I was able to connect with Chelsea Hedrick, who's on the VIP, or she's a VP of OWN at the time. So we kind of kept it going. That was literally the beginnings of Shine Networking Inc., which we've had in Miami ever since, because we wanted to bring that inspirational energy on the yearly to the community here, and show up networking and inspiring each other from all of our stories, and give scholarships to young innovative creatives in the community. I'm a huge fan of Broadway, so I love kids that are super artistic, musical theater. I'm a junkie. My daughter is an actor. She's in the New World School of the Arts here, so she's going to go into that direction too. My big dream, by the way, I'll share this with Michelle because many people know, is I want to create a screenplay, or not even a musical theater script, so that my Butterfly Awakens can turn into a musical. Because
you will make it happen.
Yeah.
I can see it. Yeah, obviously, anything you're like, I'm going to do this. Yes, it will happen.
So anyway, the story goes, she said to live the life I want. So a year later, I published my book, The Magical Guide to Bliss, and it literally became a guide for me to pivot out of a career that I no longer wanted to one that I get to be talking to people, amazing people like you. And there is so much beauty when you get to share your guide, as well as you do with your book, with other people to help them see their dreams come to light. That's such an amazing, wonderful gift that you're giving to others as well as to yourself, because you're of service, which is something that I find incredibly profound. Is just the idea of when you're in a dark place and you can be of service to someone else by virtue of telling and sharing your story or sharing your skills, then it changes everything. Like you take a really bad thing and it's happening for you, you get to share it with others. So that's exciting. So back to the Chris Martin
Yeah.
story. I sent my book out. There's a Love Button Global movement that I told you, I love Coldplay. I just love Coldplay. And there's a Love Button Global movement that they had on their website. And I thought, okay, I'm going to send my book to them to thank them basically for all the, inspiration through their music. So I sent my like an email out to to the world in the world of social media or technology. And it happened to land on Dr. Habib Sadeghi, and he is the founder with his wife, Dr. Sherry Sammy, of Love Button Global Movement. And he called me because I sent him the video of my pub date of Magical Guide to Bliss. So he invited me and my one of the judges that I used to go in front of, we're very good friends, Denise Lane, out to California, to Malibu, to be at a fundraiser for Love Button Global Movement at Chris Martin's Malibu house. So it was like about maybe 40 people. Kenny G was there.
Oh,
And was
yes.
there. Like it was
I
crazy.
have one of his CDs or a couple.
So the cool thing is Kenny G played with Chris Martin on stage. Their first song out was Yellow, which was the song that like lifted my soul during the grieving process. And I looked to my husband and I said, I have to leave my job now, right? Because that doesn't happen. Like, and you can ignore this kind of stuff. And he's like, he just shakes his head, My husband just shakes his
You're
head.
like, well, I now hang out with Oprah and Chris Martin and Kenny
Yeah.
G. So
Well, well, in that brief moment of time, it was definitely, and I've had the pleasure to see them in concert and actually, be a part of Love Button Global Movement. I've become an ambassador for them, and I'm a huge advocate because their mission is to spread love through buttons, one button at a time. And when I walked the Camino, which is the end of my book, I walked the Camino de Santiago, the pilgrimage. I would give the thing that got me through is I was giving out love buttons to everybody. It's just like it was like I was
aw.
on a mission. Like I had to have some kind of purpose because that I was like otherwise it was like why am I doing this? So it became a part of that journey and that story, and it really it made me feel like spreading love is a good thing, and I had to finish that because when my mom died, I saw a lighthouse and I felt her say, "Let me go," and I just figured I had to find the lighthouse, and it was at the end of the Camino at Finisterre, and I needed to get her message so I could heal and move on, and I did. So, you know,
That's beautiful.
yeah, it's life, and then I can't tell you how cool it is, and I will ask you as well, how cool it is to be around creative people. Like they see
Yeah.
the world differently,
Yeah.
There's so much possibility. It's really beautiful, and if I can keep this party going, I'm going to try as hard as I can, because there's just something really beautiful in when creatives get together, then create something even more amazing. And that's why I really back to my path, like where I am now, the pivot, I am getting my master's in happiness studies and the science of well-being, and hopefully on my way to get my doctorate. And the interesting thing is that that's always where my love has been. I love to write inspiration. I love to inspire people not to give up, keep going, keep trying, show up. There's beauty in the ups and the downs. We are never alone in this world as long as we reach out to other people. That's important. That's why I said, like, oh, I got to meet this lady, Michelle. I was like, oh my gosh, don't you leave without like connecting with me, please, because you can see it. You can see a shining light. You can see a beam.
Oh,
I
you are so sweet. Thank you. I feel like as you say, when we meet creatives, there's a part of me that feels like we're all creative on some level, but I think that we're scared to let that out. And that's why we have so many people in the corporate world who are, we were both there for a long, long time, decades, that
they're
you're
mad.
not allowed. Yeah. There's like, and it's funny because even in my corporate career, like my quote unquote creative side was that every month I would create a mailer that I would send out to every single one of my clients in the region, like 200 plus. It would be maybe a cookie cutter. I did chopsticks because we had a new fuel deal over in Asia. And I was like, I was the only one doing it because it brought me joy.
I love
Because
that.
I'm like, the emails are boring and we're doing snail mail. I'm going to mail things out. But that was my creative side of let's do something a little bit more and have some fun with it. But I think people are scared to just let that out there?
Because, it's so funny because, I think my final interview, I had an interview for promotion, and I was in my mind saying that if I get this promotion, okay, that's a sign. If I don't, it's a sign. And, it's like show up for the job you want. So, that wonderful meme that says I dressed like Wonder Woman. I don't understand why no one seems to understand. Here I am, but the same thing goes. I presented for the job that I wanted, and I literally told them that I wanted to bring a positive psychology approach to the burnout that you see that's predominant in a lot of fields where it's very taxing. You hear a lot of stories about people suffering, and it invades you. It goes under you, and you're supposed to figure out whether they're lying or not. And that's another whole element. You're like, these people are sharing these stories, and you're supposed to poke holes to make sure they stand.
And
And
really, you're determining their fate. Like,
and their fate,
this
yes.
is ultimately it's up to the judge, but you're the one who's like, no, this is why this person needs to go back to wherever they have just come from. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. That's heavy for a person to be doing day in and day out.
If you're an empath, which I believe you are as
Mhm.
well, it's hard to keep your boundaries solid. There's like, you see children in there, and you know it's heartbreaking because that they must be scared. Because I would be scared if I were to show up in court at that age, any age for that matter,
Any age,
please.
yeah, for
Any age,
whatever.
any age. Like, why am I here? But the bottom line is that, after a while, it eats away at your psyche. And one of the interesting things is that, which I really love about the whole field of positive psychology, which is a part of happiness studies, is that at its very core, you're trying to look at things that work, and instead of things that don't work, and then try to, basically bring that to help people live more fruitful lives, the good life, Aristotelian's eudaimonia. So I said to them, I want to get my master's in positive psychology with Martin Seligman at the University of Pennsylvania. I had researched the whole thing. I want to bring back the program here, and I want to help the people that I work with, because they're good people, and there really is a need for mental wellness, mental health and wellness. And I think that I saw like crickets, and it was like they looked at me like, what is she talking about? Well, interestingly, 5 years later, through this program, I was in the room with Martin Seligman, and he was presenting when my teacher launched the Master of Happiness studies. So I find these like little things in life. I didn't happen through there, but because I took a leap of faith into this other direction, I got to meet the father of this field of study that is really helping people heal on an emotional side or mental side, which is so important, because a lot of people, when people, hurt people, right? And we don't want that. We want to, make people flourish, and by bringing tools and modalities so that they can live a more fulfilling and satisfying life, like you do with your podcast. So, it's like all sorts of wonderment out there. Now I get to play in a world of that. And like, to your point with the whole idea of creativity, you're absolutely right. Everybody is creative, whether they feel confident embodying that, and how that shows up with your strengths is should be a part of your lifelong journey, right? Because I love the fact that you sent this email to all of the people, because it's something that you are strong in. You're using that to make other people's lives a little brighter in something that, is important. I mean, what you did was important. I mean, nobody flies without people like you. So, at the other end of that spectrum, I think that, you shine your light that way. It really does make a difference to the people who are benefiting from it.
Thank you. So now how do people work with you today besides buying all the books and listening to your show? How do people work with you?
So I do coaching. I do work with people one-on-one, especially if they're looking for purpose and career transition, and also professional development. I like to give people those tools so that they can show up in their life, whatever they choose to do, but differently, as far as with a perspective to enhance their life by what you've chosen to show up in. Like I always like to say, wherever you go, there you are. So the backdrop might change, but you're always the same. So, if you come at it with a approach that brings out your strengths and your gifts, then your experience becomes different. And then everyone you come in contact with changes as well. So I do coaching as well. I do love that. And right now, I think we're launching another podcast with two other of my colleagues from the master's program. So that's also another fun world I'm playing with. So yeah. And then my Broadway musical, of course.
Yes, which we are all going to get tickets and front row tickets to see.
Michelle, you'll be sitting right with me for
Oh
sure.
yes,
For
I want to
sure,
walk
for
the red
sure.
carpet.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm like, I need somebody who's going to be on a red carpet, and I
With a
need you to
tiara.
take me.
Yes. Well, with my Shine Networking Inc., we always have people walk in on the red carpet, just so you know. So that could be a launch beginner to the real, to the.
There you go.
Yeah.
Last year I co-chaired a gala for our school, but we couldn't get the red carpet. It was a black carpet. So
Well, black, red, doesn't matter the color. It's a carpet and you're walking it and it's VIP, honey. So own it. You own
I
it.
love it. Can you share where everyone can find you and follow you, please?
Yes. So I have a webpage. It's at www.megnoc, as in Charles, ERO. It's megnocero.com. And my email is megnocero@mac.com. But my YouTube show is Manifesting with Meg, and Spotify and all the podcast channels, Manifesting with Meg. I'm on Facebook. I love to contact and speak to people there. Meg Nocero. My handle is at Meg Nocero, Megnocero.
Thank you so much. You are just bright and shining and positive. I love it. Thank you, Meg.
No, you're so welcome. And I've enjoyed every minute of this, and I can't wait to see what the future has for all of us.
Thank you. I so thoroughly enjoyed my conversation with Meg and getting to know her better. And I hope that your takeaway from all of this is to truly think about where you are right now. Remember that you are in charge of what your future holds. That can be in a year from now, 5 years from now, tomorrow, or even later this afternoon. You get to make those decisions. I do believe that if you start to think about what you want, what do you want in life? What do you want to happen in a certain circumstance? You can manifest it and make it happen. Start envisioning what you want out of your life, out of your job, out of your exercising for the day and going on a walk. What do you want to happen? What would make it so that you're grateful for that moment in time, that you found this renewed happiness or the unexpected thing could happen? Start thinking about it and put that out into the world. I truly do believe that the more we think about certain things, the more apt they are to happen. You can think about when you're looking at cars and figuring out what do you want to buy next. Suddenly you see them everywhere. Everybody's driving the car that you've been thinking about. So put that to good use. Put it to what do you want out of your life that is going to make you feel good, simply good and happy and fulfilled. And be grateful for all of the things that you have, because it is so important that we remember, even from the simplest thing, like your cup of coffee being ready for you when you get out of bed, the warm bed that you have to sleep in, to so much more, the family, the friends, the financial security that you have. List them out. What are you thankful for? And put that into practice, because I promise you that practice is going to make really big differences. Small changes can make big things happen. So I empower you today to take charge and figure out what it is that'll make you happy and go do it.